I am Joan, your freaky philosopher, and you are my absolute reason. Welcome back to part 2 of the Absolute Reason Mentorship Program, where we are focusing on gender ideology. If you manage to get through part 1 without feeling too offended or scared of whatever it is I revealed in part 1, in particular the word occult, then well done. You have shown to be an individual who is authentically in search of the truth around the true nature of reality. It shows that you are mature enough to be able to suspend all that it is you think you know, in an authentic effort to understand the true nature of reality. Without the ability of suspending all that it is we think we know, we close ourselves off completely to any new information, and even more so, we close ourselves off to any greater potentialities that are awaiting our discovery. In the first part of this mentorship program, we reached for Abigail Shrier's Hillsdale College lecture, where she discusses her book Irreversible Damage, that focuses on the science of the transgender phenomena in the young. She also in particular has a focus on the adolescent girls. This lecture provides us with a beautifully clear baseline observation of what the current state within our society is around the topic of gender ideology. Abigail Shrier begins off with giving us a better understanding of what gender dysphoria is. She says it is the severe discomfort in one's own biological sex, and that it is absolutely real. She also continues to state that it is exceedingly rare, and that only about 1 in every 10,000 males are typically afflicted by this. Abigail Shrier does an excellent job at observing 3 separate categories that currently afflicted by gender dysphoria. She has the categories as the young kids, a social contagion as the second category, and then the third category, which I found very interesting, is the category of the activists. It is at this point where you get to know me a little bit better. As an individual who likes her privacy and who's actually fundamentally an introvert, I have tried my best to duck and dive, sharing my own personal relativities and stories and experiences in order to teach Sanatana Dharma, sacred physics, through the vehicle of absolute reason. And I promise you, after 2 years, there is no way I can duck and dive sharing who I am with you. I was born on 14 March, Yes, I share a birthday with Einstein. Some say it's coincidence. Personally, I've always felt that it's destiny. And I'm about to turn 41. But the day I was born, and I've always joked about this, I was born with a hat on my head, and the gay homosexual fairies had an absolute feast all over my Akash and just sparkled and dusted me with gay glitter bombs. And this was just always part of who I am. This tomboy behavior of mine obviously manifested throughout my childhood, starting, like Abigail says, I'm sure it started around 2. If I look at the photos, possibly sooner or before that. Um, and it just pervaded all my life, this tomboy aspect of me. And I must tell you, as a child, I wasn't confused about my gender and about who I am. The adults were the confused ones. And I knew that. Only then, in those days, there wasn't an entire ideology, and I would go as far as saying propaganda, around approaching a little child, a little tomboy girl like me, a little spruce, freckles, and I had shorts. I loved walking around barefoot. Climbing things was always such a great fun for me. Playing in mud. That was who I was and still am today. Even my occupation reflects it. The one I had before this, obviously. I was a roofer, as in the person who climbs on top of your house, on the roof. And I made that my career. I made that my speciality. And what tickled that pursuit, a big part of it was obviously the technicalities around manufacturing and construction. A tomboy likes it. But it was also I had the opportunity to climb big things for my career. And I absolutely loved it. So this masculine aspect of who I am started off with me being a tomboy. And if you were to ask me then or start confusing me with, oh, there's 72 different genders on the planet, oh my greatness, I would have been so confused. And I think it's partially why I feel so uh, propelled to act in defense of our children. I have no children of my own. But when I look at my own childhood and I consider being exposed to this gender ideology at the age of 6, 9, 12, even at 15, it would have confused the smokes out of me. And I would have felt, for sure, I don't know how I would have escaped it. I would have gone down that route of allowing adults who call themselves clever intellectuals wearing white coats. They would have butchered me. And I, today, as a 41-year-old, self-empowered and self-determining individual, I can tell you now that that is not something I would have ever wanted. It is not something I ever considered throughout my life, even though I was exposed to it. I'm a homosexual woman who played rugby, for crying out loud. You think I never came across transsexuals? I do you one up on that. I have actually hit on a transsexual more than once. She was really pretty. She was really pretty. But you could see she was also very used to telling lesbos such as myself that, sorry, by the way, I'm not a biological woman. I will get back to that point later on in the program because it is actually quite an interesting story. But for now, I think what I want to show you about myself is that when I say there is a mentorship program available through Absolute Reason, with a specific focus on providing solutions to you as a parent, a guardian, a sister, a brother, a whatever you are. You are listening to my madness because you are desperate. Because nobody else out there is offering a solid foundation from which you can help your child. Absolute Reason has that foundation. And I speak to gender ideology because I personally lived the life that your child is now facing. The only difference is I was blessed enough to be able to be allowed to work through the masculine and feminine aspects of who I am on my own and by myself without the interference of confused adults who call themselves professionals. You can understand with hearing a little bit of my story why I may from time to time sound very pissed off. And if you follow social media and you look around and you see what is happening out there and what our children are being exposed to and how our children are being perverted by this by this madness, by this gender ideology that is sexualizing our children. If you actually just open your eyes to it, you will also feel pissed off. But more than that, we should all find the courage deep within. And like Plato said, courage arises when an individual has to stand in defense of something. Now, what greater purpose is there than the purpose of defending our children and their innocence? I speak from personal experience. I didn't read this stuff in a book. Abigail places it beautifully as a baseline for you to read if you are looking for that type of journalistic and scientific research. What I will provide through Absolute Reason is lived experience and the reflection of that, but with a proper solid foundation that is based on spiritual science, not something that just came from me, but something that is guided by Vedic science. And if you don't know what Vedic science is, today is a good day to learn what it means to educate yourself. I will put links in all of these videos, but I'm not here to give you the detail around what Vedic science is and the history and how old it is and what guy dug what out from what mountain. There are many people doing those things. I am here to provide solutions. It is my purpose and my duty to serve as a teacher. And in being a teacher, I continue to learn from you. So that's enough of my hoo-ha. Let's go on with it.